Have you subscribed to the channel yet? It's not difficult to subscribe. The Secret Pills. Ethan sat at the kitchen table, sipping his morning coffee as the sun filtered through the curtains, casting a warm glow across the room. Life had settled into a comfortable rhythm for him and his wife, Jessica. Married for 6 years, they had built a life together in their cozy home in the suburbs of Charleston, South Carolina. He had always thought they were on the same page, especially when it came to the future. They both wanted kids, or at least that's what he had believed. They were in their mid-30s, and Ethan had finally felt ready. Over the past year, he and Jessica had agreed to start trying for a baby, or at least he thought they had. They talked about names, potential nurseries, and even toured a daycare center in town. It all seemed like a natural progression after building their careers. He as an architect, she as a marketing manager at a successful tech firm. He often thought about what their children might look like. A little boy with Jessica's bright blue eyes and his dark hair, or a girl with his nose and Jessica's infectious smile. Jessica, always well composed and meticulous, had seemed just as excited as he was, until recently. There had been something off about her for the past few months, though Ethan couldn't quite place his finger on it. She'd been more distant, working late more often, and when he mentioned the possibility of starting a family, she would nod but never really engage. It wasn't an outright refusal, just a gentle redirection of the conversation. It was early Saturday morning, and Jessica was still asleep upstairs. Ethan had woken up early, as usual, enjoying the quiet before the day officially began. He planned to take Jessica out for brunch at their favorite cafe in the city. It was a small tradition of theirs, something to look forward to after a long week. As he went to grab his phone off the kitchen counter, his hand brushed against Jessica's purse, which was sitting nearby. It tipped over slightly, and the contents spilled out. Ethan bent down to pick everything up: lip gloss, a pack of gum, sunglasses, when a small orange pill bottle caught his eye. He frowned, confused. They hadn't been on any medication as far as he knew, and Jessica was generally pretty healthy. His curiosity piqued. Ethan picked up the bottle, turning it over in his hands. Asterisk, asterisk, levonorgestrel and ethinyl estradiol. Asterisk, asterisk, it read. Birth control pills. The date on the prescription was recent, just a few weeks ago. A knot tightened in Ethan's stomach. They had stopped using birth control over a year ago, when they agreed to start trying for a baby. Why would Jessica need these now? He stood there, staring at the bottle, his mind racing with questions. Was she taking them behind his back? Why? They had always been open with each other, or so he thought. Ethan felt a pang of betrayal rising in his chest. He had assumed they were working toward the same future, one with children, one where they built a family together. But the pills in his hand suggested otherwise. His first instinct was to march upstairs and confront her right away. But he hesitated, glancing toward the staircase. Jessica had always been the level-headed one, the planner. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe this was a mistake. He put the bottle back in her purse, exactly where he had found it, and tried to calm the storm brewing inside him. He needed to think, to process. Instead of waking her, he decided to wait until later. He would take her out to brunch as planned, and when the moment felt right, he would ask her. Brunch at the Bluebird Cafe was lovely on the surface, but the tension bubbled just beneath. Jessica was her usual self, bright, witty, and seemingly content. She talked about her work project, the upcoming anniversary party for her company, and how she wanted to redecorate their living room. But Ethan could hardly focus. Every time she smiled, every time she laughed, he felt like he was looking at a stranger. His mind kept wandering back to the pill bottle, to the questions he desperately wanted answers to. Why would she keep this from him? It wasn't until they were driving back home that Ethan couldn't take it anymore. "Jess, can I ask you something?" His voice was calm, but his grip on the steering wheel tightened. "Of course," she said, turning toward him with that easy smile of hers. "I found something this morning in your bag." Jessica's smile faltered, her brows furrowing slightly. What do you mean? Birth control pills, Ethan said, his words hanging in the air between them like a weight. Why do you have them? Jessica's eyes widened for just a moment before she looked away, staring out the window. The silence stretched between them, thick and heavy. Ethan felt his pulse quicken, the tension in the car growing unbearable. I can explain, she finally said, her voice softer than usual. Then please do, Ethan replied, struggling to keep his tone even. Because as far as I knew, we were trying for a baby. At least, that's what I thought. Jessica sighed, running a hand through her hair. Ethan, I just don't know if I'm ready. The words hit him like a punch to the gut. Not ready? After all this time. After everything they had talked about, all the plans they'd made. You're not ready? He echoed, struggling to keep his voice steady. Jess, we've been talking about this for over a year. We agreed we were going to try. I know, she whispered, but things change. I don't know if I want this right now. Ethan felt his heart sink. You don't know if you want kids. Jessica didn't answer right away. Instead, she pressed her lips together, as if trying to find the right words. It's not that I don't ever want them, she said slowly. I've been thinking a lot lately. About my career, about where we are. I don't know if I'm ready to give up everything I've worked for. Not yet. Ethan clenched his jaw. So you've been lying to me, letting me think we were trying, while you've been on birth control this whole time. Jessica flinched at the accusation. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. You just what? Ethan cut her off, his frustration boiling over. You just didn't bother telling me. Jess, this is huge. You should have talked to me. We should have made this decision together. I was scared, okay. She snapped, her own frustration rising. I was scared you wouldn't understand, that you'd be upset, just like you are now, and I didn't want to disappoint you. Ethan pulled the car into their driveway, putting it in park, but not turning off the engine. He stared at the dashboard, his hands gripping the wheel tightly. Disappoint me? Jess, this isn't about disappointment. This is about trust. I thought we were in this together. Jessica looked down at her hands. I didn't know how to tell you, Ethan. I've been struggling with this for a while now. Struggling with what? Struggling with the idea of having a family? His voice cracked, betraying the hurt he felt. Jessica sighed, her shoulders slumping. It's not just that. It's everything. My career is taking off, and I've worked so hard to get where I am. If we have kids now, it changes everything. I'm not sure I'm ready to make that sacrifice. Ethan shook his head, feeling the weight of her words press down on him. He had always supported her career, her ambitions. But he had assumed they were on the same path, moving toward the same goals. Now, it felt like the ground was shifting beneath him. I can't believe you didn't tell me, he said quietly. I can't believe you've been hiding this from me. Jessica's eyes welled up with tears, but she didn't let them fall. I'm sorry, Ethan. I really am. I didn't know how to handle it. Ethan took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm of emotions swirling inside him. He loved Jessica, more than anything. But this felt like a betrayal, like the foundation of their marriage had cracked without him even realizing it. I don't know what to say, he admitted, his voice heavy with emotion. I thought we were working toward the same future. I thought we were going to have kids, build a family. Jessica reached out to touch his hand, but he pulled away, staring out the window instead. The silence between them was deafening. The next few days were tense. Ethan felt like he was walking on eggshells around Jessica, unsure of how to move forward. He didn't want to fight, didn't want to push her away, but the hurt and confusion lingered like a shadow over everything they did. Jessica, for her part, seemed remorseful, but also distant. She threw herself into her work, often coming home late and leaving early in the mornings. Ethan tried to talk to her, tried to bridge the gap between them, but every conversation seemed to end in frustration. One evening, as they sat on the couch, watching a movie in silence, Ethan finally spoke up. "I can't keep pretending everything's okay," he said quietly. Jessica turned to look at him, her blue eyes filled with worry. "Ethan, I don't understand why you didn't tell me," he continued, his voice filled with frustration and sadness. "We've always talked about everything. Why did you keep this from me?" Jessica sighed, tucking her legs under her as she faced him. "I didn't mean to hurt you, Ethan. I was just scared." "Scared of what?" "Scared of being honest with me." "No," she said softly. "Scared of what it would mean for us." Ethan's brow furrowed in confusion. "What are you talking about?" Jessica hesitated, biting her lip before she spoke. "I've been having doubts about everything. About our future, about whether or not I want kids, about what that would mean for my career." Ethan felt his heart sink even further. "So you don't want kids anymore?" "I don't know," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I thought I did, but now I'm not sure. I love you, Ethan. I love the life we've built together. But I'm not sure I'm ready to give it all up for a family." Ethan stared at her, feeling like the ground was slipping out from under him. "You wouldn't be giving it up, Jess. We'd be building something new together. Something amazing." Jessica shook her head. "It's not that simple. Having kids changes everything. I'm not sure I'm ready for that kind of responsibility." The words hung between them, heavy and painful. Ethan didn't know what to say. He had always believed they were on the same path, working toward the same future. Now it felt like they were standing at a crossroads, unsure of which direction to take. Reader comments. Ashley 21. "Wow, my heart breaks for Ethan. It's so hard when you think you're on the same page with someone, and then you realize you're not. Trust is everything." Big Mike 87. "This is rough. I can understand Jessica's perspective about her career, but she should have been honest with Ethan from the start. This kind of thing can destroy a marriage." Loyal Husband. "I've been in Ethan's shoes. It's tough to recover from this kind of betrayal, especially when it comes to something as big as having kids. Trust is so fragile." Career-driven mama. "I feel for both of them. It's hard balancing career ambitions and family. But Jessica should have communicated her feelings earlier instead of hiding it. That's where the real betrayal lies."